what's up, loves? Welcome to the very first video where we're going to be chatting all about what anxiety actually is, understanding anxiety, and shifting our relationship to it a little bit so that we can take our power back. Those of you guys that are listening are obviously struggling with a lot of scarcity, a lot of anxiety, and the number one reason for this is because we are so identified with it, we're so scared of it, and we don't know how to shift through it. And this makes for a lot of stickiness, it makes for a lot of struggle, and we are not about the struggle life anymore. And so what I want to help you guys realize is that you do get to shift out of the scarcity and the anxiety. You do get to take your power back, and you can access this alignment and ease, but we cannot do this through fighting our anxiety. We need to understand what anxiety actually is. And my goal for you is so that you don't have to keep just managing your anxiety. I don't want you to have to keep managing your anxiety for the rest of your life. That is a miserable life. It's a life that I lived for a really long time. I lived with so much anxiety from as long as I can remember. I struggled with anxiety, constantly being in this like worryful state. I could never really relax. Just like created a lot of like hormonal gut health issues, constantly on guard, constantly needing to like be busy or distract myself. Really, really hard time with anxiety, panic attacks. I had to be on medication for it. Led me into a lot of eating disorder stuff. And it was just really freaking miserable. So I know that the struggle seems real, but the reality is that so many of us just don't know how to navigate anxiety. We don't understand what anxiety is, and that's what this is for. So understanding what anxiety is super, super, super important. Anxiety is simply an emotion. And so often, all of us are so scared of it. We feel like anxiety is like this disease and that we're stuck with it. We're really afraid of feeling it. We're afraid of getting stuck in it is a huge, huge, huge thing that my clients are constantly saying, like, I'm afraid I'm gonna get stuck in this. And we end up spinning, right? And this anxiety hijacks our experience and we end up just spinning, spinning, spinning. The reason for this is because we have been living up in our heads for so long and are so disconnected from our bodies, and we don't know how to be self-resource and feel into our emotions in order to actually shift our energy and our frequency and our vibration. And so what I want to help you do is heal your anxiety and shift into a completely different state and know how to navigate your anxiety so that whenever it does come up, you're no longer like completely hijacked and just fall off the horse. So understanding what anxiety is simply an emotion. It's an emotion just like any other emotion. We have so many emotions in our spectrum of our human capacity, and anxiety is just one of them. There are no good or bad sensations. Anxiety is just there, but we put a negative association with it because we're scared of it. We're scared of the sensations that it brings up in our body, and our low capacity to feel is what creates so much struggle. We're creating so much struggle because we're so disconnected from our emotionality. And that anxiety, it makes us want to numb out. It makes us want to distract. It makes us take action that isn't aligned with the highest version of us. It makes us binge. It makes us engage in disordered eating or alcohol abuse or go to drugs or sex or social media or whatever it may be. And whenever we're doing that, we can't actually access the highest version of us. We get so wrapped up in it that we end up getting stuck. We get in these funks. We can't have clarity. And this is super, super, super frustrating for a lot of the women that I work with, especially in business, because whenever we're stuck in our anxiety and we're stuck in all the scarcity and we just feel so stuck, we have a lot of trouble in business, and we don't have clarity for our content. We don't feel we can show up and serve. We aren't feeling abundant. And so I want to help you guys move through this. Anxiety is just an emotion. But what we want to realize is that anxiety is showing up for us because essentially like we're needing safety. Safety is a fundamental human need. And safety is what we're ultimately craving whenever we're in those states of anxiety. The small part of our brain, the logical part of our brain, is constantly spewing out things that's based in survival, that's based in fear. Our mind is literally wired for survival. And so often we're so identified with the mind and we're so identified with the fear that we can't actually access our truth. And so we end up just living in this state of just like constant anxiety, constant fear. The biggest thing that we actually need is safety. So understanding like our brain is literally wired for survival, and these are the small parts of ourselves that are showing up and that are coming online and they're spewing out this information, and that's all that it is. We're going to get more into honoring and feeling and how to shift actually through these things, but I just want to help you guys understand like what anxiety actually is. So what we have to realize is like there are multiple pieces and parts of ourselves at play, and we'll get into this more and especially in the program that I'm creating for this, but there are multiple pieces and parts of ourselves. The brain though, and it is wired for survival like I talked about, and so the small parts of ourselves are constantly going to be coming online trying to keep us safe. It's like alert, 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 you're not safe, don't go there, they're going to judge you, you're not going to be loved, stay small. And it's constantly spewing out this stuff that's rooted in fear, rooted in fear. And what happens is that also the sensations in our body, we've been living up in our head for so long and we're so disconnected from our emotions, we don't know how to feel, we're so afraid of our anxiety that it creates this like negative feedback loop, right? So it's like you're feeling all these sensations in your body, maybe that tightness in your chest, the unease in your stomach, maybe your throat's tightening up, your chest is beating fast, and then your mind is trying to make a meaning out of it, like, oh, there's something wrong, something bad is gonna happen, blah, 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 and we start creating all these thoughts in our head, and it's just this negative feedback loop, and then we end up taking stupid-ass action that isn't actually gonna move us forward or isn't aligned with the highest version of us, or we just end up getting stuck and just falling and sabotaging and whatever. And so realizing that feedback loop works both ways, that whenever our thoughts are running rampant and we're so identified with the anxiety, and we're so identified with the thoughts that are going on through our mind, that it causes us to feel a certain way, again, creating that feedback loop. So what we want to do is we want to break the feedback loop. However, we have to be willing to feel in order to transcend and actually access the alignment and the ease that we're actually craving. And that's what I'm going to be helping you guys move through. But just realize that so often we don't know how to feel. We have a super low capacity to feel into our pain. And by pain, I mean anxiety, sadness, anger, whatever that emotion is that feels bad or negative or whatever. Specifically here, we're talking about anxiety. And so we're so disconnected from our emotions and from our body that we end up suppressing that anxiety and pushing it down and numbing it down. We don't know what to do with it. We're judging it. We're trying to run away from it. We're trying to think our way through it. And that's only perpetuating it and creating more of a struggle. What we suppress creates struggle. And so we're creating more and more and more struggle. And this is what creates the resistance, because we're constantly stuck in that anxiety and not really feeling it. We're not really being in our bodies at all. So it's just building up in there and it's creating all this energy inside of us. And this is what creates so much resistance for us. And so this is why we find ourselves numbing out, binge drinking, binge eating, over exercising, overworking, distracting ourselves in any possible way that we can so that we don't have to feel what's going on underneath. So this is what creates a lot of our patterns, why we get so stuck. And just understanding what that anxiety is, I find can be super, 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 super helpful. What I want you guys to realize is that, and I don't want to make this video too long or go into too much, but this anxiety is not you. And I hope that you can start to even realize this in this video with what I'm saying, that anxiety is simply fear. It's the noise and the logical mind that's rooted in survival. It's rooted in fear. It's rooted in the fearful parts of you that are coming up and that are at play. And it's trying to keep you safe. So it is serving you in some way. And also, it's just an emotion, it's just energy in motion. And that energy needs to be moved through, it needs to be released, it needs to be felt, which we're going to get into in the next video. But realizing that, oh my gosh, this anxiety is not me, it is not my identity, it isn't my truth, it isn't what I'm stuck in. And the more that we realize that and that we just have that awareness over what the anxiety actually is, we actually get to create space from it and really take on this role of it being an observer of the anxiety and seeing it for what it is. And then we ultimately get to access our truth, our power, our intuition, and shift into the highest version of us. So I hope that this made sense for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know, comment, DM, send me a message letting me know how this resonated with you, and I'll see you in the next video.